It's time for Ask Your Auntie, the show that gets real with teen girls about life. They ask, and we answer with tea. Tools for excellence and achievement. The goal? To help girls make better decisions in real time. When you can't ask your mom or G-Ma, ask your auntie. Now here's your host, Marisa Terrell, Esquire.
When you can't ask your mom or your G-Ma, ask your favorite auntie. I'm Marisa Terrell, but you can call me Auntie M. And when I'm not working as a fashion lawyer, I serve as the director of the High Tea Society and the host of this podcast, Ask Your Auntie. We provide DC girls with reliable answers to their questions. Now, our guests will come on and they'll share personal stories of agency and impact in the fields of life skills, relationships, self-care, health, career planning, you name it. Our ultimate goal is to help girls make better decisions in real time. And how do we do that? Through storytelling, of course. But I'm not talking about fairy tales. In this safe space, we're going to explore the personal stories of real folks who have been there and done that. Now, Ice-T once said, wait a minute. Do you know who Ice-T is? Ice-T is a rapper from like the 80s and 90s. This is kind of back in my day. Anyway, he is also an actor on this show called Law & Order Special Victims Unit. He plays a Detective Finn Tutola. Anyway, Ice-T once said that all of us are like one bad decision away from disaster. I believe that. So how do we avoid missed opportunities? And how do we turn a bad decision around? Well, I believe you can learn this and more by reading about and listening to the experiences of others. In other words, I believe that you can learn what to do and what not to do just by knowing where to go and who to ask. And that's where we come in. On this show, you can count on us to identify the most interesting aunties, uncles, and cousins willing to share their stories on how they successfully navigated high school. Wouldn't you like to know how to get over a breakup, who to take to prom, how to handle high school bullies, how to pick the perfect college or trade school, etc.? Well, sugar, we got you. Plus, we'll do our best to answer the questions submitted by high school students all around the DMV. So now you know what the show is all about. So let's kind of get to know our guest today. I've invited a special guest. I've known her for as long as I can remember. She is the founder of the High Tea Society Foundation. This is my mom. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm happy to be here.
So this is Judge Mary Terrell, or I guess you can call her Great Auntie Mary. But we're so happy that you stopped by today. And I just thought it would be fitting that we should start our first inaugural episode of Ask Your Auntie with you. So let's start off by kind of getting to know you and your exciting career path. It's like all over the place, right?
Yes.
First, where are you from?
From Akron, Ohio.
Do you know where that is? Does anyone know where that is?
I hardly know where it is.
It's
And I grew
Middle
up
America,
there.
USA. How did you make your way to Washington, D.C.? What was the reason?
To get out of Akron, Ohio.
To get out of Akron, Ohio.
And to explore what's beyond the other side of the mountain.
Okay, literally. There are mountains in Ohio.
That's right. And I wanted to know what was on the other side.
Okay, so you made an escape. How old were you when you left?
Oh, I had graduated from high school and had decided that I wanted to go to college. However, I did not know anything about college. Unfortunately, the school that I went to did not focus on preparing Black students for college. And I overheard them talking to the other students about college and college admission. And I said, I'm going to go to college.
Why not?
That's right. And so I embarked upon that experience. So it was quite an experience because when you don't know where you're going or what you want to do or how you're going to get it done, you are definitely walking in space. And so I was a space cadet.
I wish I had a photo of you walking into D.C., into college, and you went to Howard University.
I went to Howard University, and I didn't know anything about Howard University. And when I got to D.C., I was so shocked to see so many Black people. I had never seen...
Chocolate City.
Well, I didn't know anything about Chocolate City, and so I didn't really know what to expect. Mm-hmm. And so I called my mother, and I said, Mother, they are everywhere. They're in the drugstores, and they're in the Safeways, and in the banks. And back in Ohio, African Americans did not have those kinds of jobs. Most of them worked in the factory.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you go to Howard, you navigate through. Then where did you go next?
I went to the Peace Corps.
The Peace Corps. Now,
That's
for
right.
all of our sugars out there, maybe they're trying to figure out what is a Peace Corps. What is the Peace Corps?
The Peace Corps is a government agency that prepared those persons who wanted to help with other societies in different ways to improve their circumstances, improve their conditions, and just to really have a cultural experience. And so that's the Peace Corps. And so I did not want to go back to Ohio, right. And I didn't have a job offer. And so I was very fortunate to see this table across campus. And I walked over there, and it was a table recruiting people for the Peace Corps. I still didn't know what the Peace Corps was, but I said, well, do you have any Spanish-speaking countries? And so they said, no, we don't have any Spanish-speaking countries, because I had some Spanish in high school. And so I said, well, what do you have? They said, well, the only thing we have is India.
Wow.
And of
it's
course,
a big place.
Yes, and I didn't know. I did not know where it was, but I wasn't going back to Ohio.
Okay, so faced with the choice of Ohio or India, you said, sign me up for India.
Yes, I did.
And you were in the Peace Corps for how many years?
2 years.
2 years. Now, that's an experience all in of itself. I invite you to tune in because the judge is preparing her memoirs right now.
Really?
Yeah. And she's going to tell you all about India and all of her other many adventures. But I'm going to flash forward. So you come back and you did fall into education. Yeah. Where in D.C. did you teach?
I taught at Taft Junior High School. Mm-hmm. And then one thing that the Peace Corps offered was the opportunity to get a master's degree. That's really important because you want to be around people who can at least help you to translate what it is that you are doing or what it is that you might want to do. Or if you don't know what you want to do, you need an opportunity to at least have some experiences that will take you out of your current situation or places like Akron, Ohio.
So education can be a ticket up and out and over.
Right. It was definitely out.
Okay, out. All right. So you were an educator for a while, and then you decided to go to law school.
Well, I just didn't decide. It's always situations, and that's what you have to learn, young people, young ladies. You've got to have situational judgment. You've got to know where and who and what, and you have to be able to look around and see what is going on. You just don't jump in the water if you can't swim. And so, therefore, situational judgment helps you to make a decision and determination when to turn around and go back the other way, or who to talk to, how to talk to them, and any number of things. So one thing the Peace Corps did offer was a chance to get a master's degree. And so consequently, I selected to go to AunTea College in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Back to Ohio.
back to Ohio.
But not Akron, Ohio.
But not Akron.
Okay. Right. All right. So master's, now you're armed with your master's degree. You've come out. I do remember law school because I do remember sitting under your desk and recording those lectures. So I could say I've been to law school twice. I know I do remember Georgetown. And then you were a prosecutor for a while in the criminal court. This is D.C. Superior Court.
Yes.
Down there.
Right.
Lots of tough criminal matters.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Flash forward. And then appointed by President Clinton to serve as a D.C. Superior Court judge.
Yes.
Trial level.
Yes.
Now, somewhere in between all of that, you took it upon yourself to form an organization.
I did.
And that organization is the High Tea Society. They are the reason why we're here today. This is the High Tea Society's Ask Your AunTea podcast. So what is the High Tea Society? What was the reason why you started that?
Well, once I decided that I was working with an alternative high school. First of all, I'm an educator by training. Mm-hmm. I stumbled into the law. And how I stumbled into the law was I was directing this school for dropout students. And when I was directing the school only held 300 students. And we had 300 on the waiting list. And so I asked them, why are you not in school? And they said, Miss Terrell, they told me to get out the classroom. I said, no notice, no process, just get out. I said, oh, no, I'm going to change that. Mm. And so I decided to go to law school. That was an experience because I went to school at night. I took Marisa and her sister with me. Yes. And they sat in the back of the class.
Yes, it was fun. This was at Georgetown. Okay. All right. So here you started High Tea and you were were you thinking about it as a way to, I don't know, why all of a sudden were girls such an interesting topic for you? Or have they always been?
Well, they've always been. But what happened is that when I was teaching and then I became a judge, I started being invited to go back into the schools because I had not been in the schools doing all of these different experiences that I was going through. Mm-hmm. And when I walked into that school, a junior high school, I was in a state of shock. I couldn't comprehend the behavior, the appearance, the language. It was just mind-blowing. And I said, well, how are these young ladies going to be ready for the civil society? How are they going to survive if they don't find a way to become civil? And that was on the eve of me being sworn in as a new judge. And I had no idea that generally judges don't start nonprofit programs when they're just starting out to become a judge. But somehow, by the grace of God, I had a very excellent chief judge, and I came to him and told him that I wanted to start this program for girls. And so he said, oh, okay, but just remember, it's a conflict of interest for you to ask anyone for anything. But I wish you the best.
And that was in 1997.
Yes.
Okay, so we have come a long way since that time.
Yes.
And during the program, how would you describe some of the activities that first of all, it was a program that was kind of divided into multiple parts, right?
Yes.
We had a Teaching Through Tea program,
right,
which was like the Saturday morning program.
Right. It was a social skills-based type program, sort of a holistic approach to helping people to identify themselves. Mm. Because one of the big problems is people don't know who they are. So when I used to ask young girls, who are you? And they would say, I'm me. Then I would say, well, who are you? And they didn't understand how to define themselves in relationship to the rest of the world. You are not an island in and of yourself. Mm. And it's about a series of relationships. And so we use the tea because tea is a social custom. It gives people an opportunity to find themselves, gives them an opportunity to learn about other people. It is the tea of international discourse. It is just a soothing and calming environment. And then it's something that I learned when I was in the Peace Corps in India, that it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, you can always have a cup of tea with someone.
Yes, that's right. The universal, I guess, social drink, conversations over tea. It's a nice level setting.
It's how presidents always have tea when they're meeting with diplomats.
Yes. So tea is the backdrop for the program. So we've had the Teaching Through Tea. We had the STARS after school program for the little girls, for the little ones. That was like, I think they were like 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. Teaching Through Tea was interesting because we would pick up the girls in 5th grade, but we would stay with them through high school graduation. Then we had our summer camps, the Charming by Design series, fashion camps, theater camps. And so it's been a whirlwind.
It's about exposure. You cannot get enough exposure. And without exposure, you are locking yourself into a box that you will never be able to get out. And so it's important that you have as many experiences as you can, positive experiences, and that you find mentors or individuals that you can trust, who will give you some guidance, because otherwise you will be on a merry-go-round that will never stop.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So the program really, in addition to what you're saying, we try to build up the resiliency of girls to withstand unhealthy influences. Because when you know who you are and you've been exposed to different experiences, you can make better decisions in real time, right? That's that situational awareness you started talking about. Okay, so do you think that there's still a need for this program? I mean, back in 97, there was a need. Is there still a need?
Oh, my God.
Yes?
There is more of a need because there's so many negative experiences that are being imposed upon our youth today. And if they don't really know who they are or where they're going, or if they don't know the people who are asking them to do certain kinds of things, then they're in serious trouble. And you have to have somebody that you can trust to help guide you through all the experiences and situations that you're going to find yourself in. You know, if you're looking for something and you're in the wrong place, then there are just too many negative things that can happen to you. And so the whole idea is to find people who are going in the direction that you need to go to, and you just tag along until you can pick up some of their skills and some of their experiences and some of their knowledge.
Right. So now we flash forward to now, the present day iteration of the High Tea Society, right? I mean, you were kind enough to pass the baton on to me to help shepherd us through COVID and into the new millennium, I guess. So, when we talk about what High Tea Society is doing now, we're pretty much doing the same thing, but we're trying to do it in a virtual digital landscape.
Right.
So we believe that there is always a need for in-person programs because we're talking about children, and you need to be present with children to make a real difference. But we're talking about trying to create some companion programming, some digital virtual programs that might be able to also provide this wraparound support in the form
because there is no support right now. Mm-hmm. There are situations where there is no one for young people that they can talk to. And so they're talking to the wrong people. They're talking at the wrong time and in the wrong places. And therefore, they're at the mercy of all these predators who are just simply waiting to take advantage of them. So it is critical that communication is important. And many times the young people, they know that they don't know.
Right.
But they don't really know where to turn to. and who to ask for help.
Perfect segue, because now in this new iteration, we're going straight to the girls and we are starting with them to kind of let us know what are some of the things that they want to know. So we know, based on our experience, the things that we think that where they should be. And so we are constantly identifying folks who can speak on different topics, just the way we always have. But now we're adding this new piece where we're sort of going to girls and saying, hey, we're here as a resource. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to know? Can we help you figure out how to research different things so you can make better decisions? We want our girls to develop coping strategies. We want them to have access to a network of supportive advocates. We want them to understand their inner worth. We want them to become productive members of society.
And we want them to have resiliency. See, resiliency is that inner strength that God has given all of us to help us chart our path and to help us not to be consumed, but to be able to prod through and to become stronger so that we can cope better. And so without resiliency, this mountain that I want to go over, I will be tumbling down without resiliency.
Right. That inner strength, you encourage amplified by being in the right settings with the right people so that you can begin to learn this is a better choice, maybe that's not such a good choice, and this is why. You start to think a couple of steps ahead, and that's helpful.
Yes.
Okay, so part of the new program, of course, is answering questions submitted by our sugars. These are our teenage girls throughout the nation, okay? Because they've got questions. We believe that we've got the answers. And we also feel very comfortable speaking with great Auntie Mary here because we just got to know her. Because remember, sugars, we don't ask directions from anyone who is lost, okay? So here we feel like we've talked to our great aunt here, and we're going to kind of get into a few questions before you close out for today. Here's a question from one of our sugars. She says she was accepted into a college in Massachusetts. She hates it, okay? She's just thinking, should she even go back next semester? What do you think?
Well, she has to go somewhere.
Right.
So if you don't like the situation that you're in and you don't have any alternatives, then you might as well make the best of the situation before you go leaping through the century. So I would definitely suggest that if you are in a situation, a college in this instance, that you don't like, then you need to, first of all, try to find out what it is about the situation that you don't like. And you need to try also to try to find somebody in that situation who you can build a relationship with. Because life is just about a series of relationships. And it's through relationships that you can expand your environment and you can grow. You might find out that the reason that you don't want to be there or like that situation is that you're afraid. You know, God knows I have been afraid in a lot of situations, but I would just simply get over being sick and just move forward. And so that's where resiliency comes in. See, that inner power that says, okay, now you don't want to go back to where you were. You are here, and how can you improve the situation where you are? And you look around for somebody who may be similarly situated, who may help to guide you.
Right. And you can also take this time to think of a plan. So what other school do you want to go to, and do some research on it? Can you find another school that maybe can provide you with some financial resources? Is there a subject matter that you really like? You want to find another school that focuses on that before you just jump out there?
Yes, please don't. I have done too much jumping in my life, so I'm telling you from experience. Look before you leap, please.
Okay, good one. Okay, here's a question. Do you believe in God? Why or why not?
I would not be alive today. Seriously, if I did not believe in God. That extra power, that strength, that's protection that you know that you have. Because the mind can play tricks on you. The mind can say, oh, why don't you try this? Or try that? Or go with Okey Pinokie? Or do this? You've got to have somebody. You need some help to help you through life so that you will not end up on top of the mountain, but sliding down, not knowing where you're going.
On the wrong path, in the wrong situation, at the wrong time.
That's right.
Supernatural help, supernatural power to be able to make decisions even when you can't quite understand the way.
Because I always tell, when I was a prosecutor, I would tell people who would come in with their attorneys, and I say, what in the world are you doing here? You know, wrong place, wrong time, wrong people, wrong decision. Now what you gonna do?
Okay. Thank you. That's a good one. Okay. Well, here's another question. We've tried to slide these in before we roll out of here. How do I know if my boyfriend loves me? How do you know this is love and not just
infatuation?
Yeah, or, they're just, wanting to get means to an end or something. Maybe you have access to something that they want, and they're just sort of being nice to you.
There's another saying I use, practice is higher than theory. Mm-hmm. And so you can tell by people's behavior what their motives are, if you want to know what their motives are. If you're content to live in a fairyland, then, of course, there are many of those around. But the only way that you're going to know is how do you feel when you're around the person, and how do they treat you? Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody cares about you, they are not going to be throwing you in the dumpster
right.
or having you put yourself in untenable positions or not safe places. And if that's happening and you insist on being with these people, there's another saying, water seeks its own level. And so if you are operating with people at a level where they're not going anywhere, then they will drag you down with them.
And this is part of what I have heard my whole life, folks. Mom has a saying for any and everything, but it is all, this is true. This is real information. And if you are curious and want to know more, hang out with us. We've got answers to your questions. We know that growing up in D.C. is hard.
It's hard everywhere.
It's hard, right? It's hard everywhere, but you're not alone. Sugar, you don't have to do it by yourself. Join us every week for reliable answers to your questions. When you can't ask your GMA, ask your auntie. I am Auntie M, director of the High Tea Society. You can contact us on Instagram, direct message us at High Tea Society INC. We have the tea to help girls succeed. Tools for excellence and achievement.
You've been listening to Ask Your Auntie with your host, Marisa Terrell, Esquire. The transition from girlhood to womanhood can be difficult without guidance. We have the tea to help girls succeed. When you can't ask your mom or G-Ma, ask your auntie.